What's going on, squad? It's your man Unspoken Reviews back again with another video, and today we are doing another review of Penguin episode 5 entitled Homecoming. All right, guys, so another good episode. Really put things on the playing field for Oz, where he is now overwhelmed with the decisions he's made on the show thus far, and the show goes to great lengths to show you exactly what he's up against. All right, guys, so the episode does pick up on Oz and Victor. Reminder, we did not really see them in episode 4, since episode 4 was pretty much centered around Sophia's past and her ability to want to take over the family. Oz, they end up burning the car, and I like how Oz has like these stories of his past that he shares with Victor. This one, I think he talks about Rex Calabrese, was a guy who grew up in his neighborhood who was somewhat of a gangster as well, and said that when his car would come down the street, it wasn't so much a car, it was like a chariot that would come down the street. And Oz burns his car, signifying it is the end of an era. I just like when Oz kind of goes into these stories and he kind of talks about the things that have happened in the past. You get more of an idea of the things that went on in Gotham years ago, before Bruce Wayne, before the Batman, before the Wayne's death, everything that took place years ago. It just gives you a better understanding of what Gotham was like all those years ago. So Vic does apologize for walking out on Oz the way he did. However, Oz, takes the blame away, telling him that he still came back for him, and that counts for something. So as some of Oz's guys do pull up to check on him, and Oz does decide to share with them the idea of the mushrooms and what it's going to take to get them back and what moves they have to make to do that. So they do target Taj Maroni, who is actually the son and the heir of the Maroni crime family. He's the son of Salvatore Maroni, and it seems like he does a TikTok video, which I did not expect him to put that in this show. But he's basically talking about how the Maronis are about to take over and it's their time to reign now. And he pretty much gives up his location and where he is right at that point. So Oz and his crew decide to pay him a visit. At this time, he is getting a bat tattoo, and Oz and his people just start mowing down everyone that's in the parlor, just killing everybody. Taj does start to get away, however, Vic manages to stop him, and Oz has him at gunpoint. So Oz doesn't waste any time. He immediately brings the photo to Salvatore Maroni and to Nadia Maroni, and he's taunting them, telling them that he will be willing to give Taj back if they give him back the mushrooms that they took. And both of them, neither one of them really want to work with them in this regard, considering the fact that he did cross them a couple times and that they shouldn't trust him. But Oz does remind him that he still has their son, and if they want to make good on getting him back alive, they will work with him to make sure that that does indeed happen. So as Oz is leaving the prison, he does slip a guard a couple dollars, and he says 11 o'clock red jacket, which I think is code for, a stabbing, because red jacket, obviously there was no one with a red jacket, but when you stab someone, it leaves red on their clothes, and it's just a signifying time where I think he's sending someone to kill one of the Maronis at that point in time. And as he's getting ready to leave, also, he does notice that the news of the Falcone family's death is going on. It's pretty much become citywide news. Everyone has found out that the family is dead, except for Sophia and Vidi and Gia. So we do cut to the family's estate. So we do get Chief Brock. If you guys do remember Chief Brock, he was in the Batman film. He was amongst the GCPD or the GPD, and was pretty much scolding Batman's actions as well as Gordon's actions in helping the Batman. So Brock does have a bunch of questions about what did happen there in the house. And Sophia manages to use the affair between both Vidi and Luca's wife, Tina, as a point of creating the tension that might have been going on in the family, as well as the fact that Vidi has been missing. And this was actually pretty smart on her play. I know that she had other reasons for keeping him alive, but keeping him alive for the sake of him taking the blame for the family's death was actually pretty slick, because this way would get suspicious eyes off her and help her to be able to move the way she wants to. However, Brock is not really fooled. He does recognize that there's no love lost going on between the Falcone family. And however, Sophia does also pick up on the idea that why is he making a house call, because him being the chief of police, there's no reason for him to come down there for something like that, where just standard cops and detectives will come down and that would be enough. However, Brock does leave. We do find out that Sophia is actually keeping Vidi tied up down in the family grave area. He does ask why she's keeping him alive, but she's really just keeping him alive also to find a big bag of untraceable cash that Carmine kept hidden somewhere from the family, that he kept somewhere in the house, and she needs Vidi to find it for her. However, Vidi refuses, and she ends up taking cold water and dumping it on him. And mind you guys, it's, I think, November around this time in this show. So it's freezing cold. So this man is completely naked. He does have like a shirt and some boxers on, but outside of that, he is tied up. So we do cut to Eve's house where they're actually also keeping Taj Maroney. And Eve is pretty much worried because, you know, Sophia does know all their faces. If you guys remember in episode 3, they used Eve's girls to help push the drugs around that club. So Sophia pretty much knows Eve and knows everybody that she's connected to. And this makes Eve worried about what could happen to them. So we do cut back to Sophia and Vidi. And as they're talking, Vidi does explain the past a little bit, as he was the one that introduced Isabella to Carmine Falcone. And that was one of the things that helped him get into the position that he had amongst the family. However, it became an idea that Isabella was going to leave Carmine Falcone for the second time. When she left him the first time, she did ended up leaving him, but she ended up coming back for the kids. And that's what Vidi blames that on. But then when Isabella admitted that she had the car packed and she was ready to go, Carmine killed her that night. It's kind of heartbreaking, you know, having Sophia listen to that, realizing that Vidi was the one that put all those things in motion. And the fact that Vidi stayed working for him is something that Sophia is still pissed off about. So Victor does come to check on Frances Cobb, and it seems that she's still having one of her episodes. However, she does snap out of it pretty quickly. And Victor does tell her that Oz was responsible for killing the whole Falcone family. And this kind of makes Frances a little happy. At least he does that just to kind of give her a little hope. As we cut to Blackgate, we see Salvatore Maroni's in his cell, and as he's taking some pills and washing himself up, one of the guards comes and tries to stab him, and we don't exactly see the outcome of that. However, the guard does say that it is from the Penguin, but the way that the scene cut, I was pretty certain that he didn't die. It does make sense, you know, just when you know how TV shows are, you can tell that, you know, he wasn't going to die from that. Oz does meet Nadia for the trade of Taj Maroni for the shrooms that they do have. You know, Oz does take Taj out of the backseat of the car, but he has him duct taped. And at first I thought they put water on him as a way of just kind of torturing him a little bit. But the way he's keeping his distance, I was a little worried about that, and the way he had gloves on. So I was wondering exactly what that was about. However, he does send one of his people to check on the mushrooms, and the mushrooms, as far as I see, are all good. But Nadia says that they cannot leave until she actually has Taj in her grasp. So Oz does let him go, and you see that he takes his glove off for a little bit, and you see Taj is still trying to communicate with her to let her know something is wrong. So as he does make it back to her, we do see all the shutters start closing, locking Oz and his men inside the garage, and everybody starts opening fire. Everyone starts shooting. Oz managed to take out Nadia Maroni's people. And we see Oz removes a glove and he takes out a lighter. And right then and there, I was like, oh shit, that was all gasoline. And he ends up lighting them both on fire. And it was, oh man, it was terrible seeing how that happened. You know, seeing them catch on fire like that. The show made it, you really cringed a little bit as you see it happening. And you realize this is only happening in the middle of the episode. And this is another thing I like about the show, guys. It doesn't skip out on giving us some meaty stuff right in the middle. So Oz and his man do escape with the mushrooms. However, because of the fire suppression system, most of the mushrooms are all ruined. They're all dead. However, he does find 2 buckets that are still alive, and he manages to get them to his people and get them in a warm and safe place. However, he does get a call from Sal Maroni, which I was certain he didn't die. Of course, he did survive his stabbing, and he does say that he's going to come after Penguin after that. He also has guard keys, which allowed him to escape the prison. However, Oz does bait him a little bit and tell him, why don't you call your wife and see how everything went? So the show does a great job of making sure that you notice that Oz is still in the center of the shit. I know sometimes when we're watching the show, you think that Oz has all these advantages, but the show quickly switches that as soon as possible and shows that he still has a long way to go, as well as he's now making more enemies. And because of that, he tells Vic that he has to move his mom, Frances, as soon as possible. So we do cut to Sophia and it seems that Julian has come to visit her, and he is now willing to join her. You know, it's very interesting seeing his character just come about like that. And it kind of makes me wonder, what exactly is his intention? You know, this character just seems to pop up whenever there is a convenience for him a little bit. You know, it seems like he only comes around whenever Sophia is either doing good or in the midst of a transformation a little bit, almost like he's trying to reap the benefits as soon as possible. I don't know if I'm the only one who caught up on that, but it kind of makes me wonder, what is his character's true intentions? What is he actually there for? So Sophia does announce that she is now taking over the family and that the family's name will no longer be Falcone. It will now be switched over to Gigante in honor of her mother. And it's a very interesting character arc for her. And this is something that I really liked about this moment for Sophia. Sometimes when we're watching television shows, especially when it comes to female characters, I think this is how you write a proper female protagonist. You know, they actually gave her an understanding arc. It makes you sympathetic with her while not also making her so overbearing that you cannot understand her. You also feel why she wants to do the things that she's doing. So when she comes to this point where she seems like this strong, powerful female character, you actually understand where it comes from. You know, I think this is something that has pissed me off a lot with television shows. We often just get the female protagonist that just has all this power and strength without seeing how they work for it. And this show lets you see how she works for it. You know, she does take over the family and she gives all the people that were beneath the Falcones, who were just used to fight for their scraps, a chance to actually mean something. And as she's erasing the name, Vitti actually starts talking over her, and this pisses her off, and she ends up taking Vitti out in a headshot. And, you know, she actually takes a bag of money and dumps it out in front of him and tells them that if they would like take the money and then join the family, which everyone immediately does take the money. They don't care if there's blood on it or not because Vitti's bleeding all over the table and they don't give a damn. They're grabbing whatever cash they can. Thus begins the reign of the Gigantes. So Victor does end up bringing Francis to Crown Point because Oz does tell him it has to be a place no one will think to look. And that actually does make a lot of sense. I thought maybe Vic was going to take her out of the city, but it does make sense that he did want to keep her in Gotham because he probably wouldn't know where to go with all that money outside of the city of Gotham because that's the only thing he knows. So he ends up going to Crown Point, and we can see that it is still like this desolate, trashed wasteland. And we also get a small cameo from Squid. And I told you guys in episode 3, I was certain this character was going to have some relevancy later on down the line. And he does. He does have meaning down the line. He really is someone that Vic is going to cross paths with. And he even mentions that Squid does run the drops in the area and that he's a very dangerous person. And by the way he seems to be trying to hide from Squid, it seems the two of them have much more of a deeper history than we have been led to understand. And that makes me wonder if Victor and Squid are going to come to a head sooner or later. So Vic does end up bringing her to Calvin's apartment, and we do see that it's a really sad thing for Vic to be back there knowing that he was close, that this is just close to where his family was living at. But we also see this brings up some trauma for Francis a little bit because, you know, she came up on the east side with her boys, and this apartment looked almost the same way as the one she grew up in with the kids grew up in. And it's very sad, you know, seeing that both of these characters have been affected by this area of the town. And she even mentions that East Side is a curse. And, you know, this kind of hurts Vic a little bit, but he does understand what she means at this point. But Oz does come back to check on Eve. However, Eve has decided to back out of the situation and can no longer support Oz at this point in time. And it's kind of messed up because she says that she's still all his, but she just can't be a part of it anymore. And of course, this does piss off Oz as he felt betrayed. I can't lie, I thought that he was going to kill her at that point, but he seems to show at least some restraint by not taking her out. And it's messed up, but you see how the situation is closing in around Oz. You know, he felt so confident for a moment that he was going to be in a place where he could control things, and everything has switched up. And you can see he feels completely defeated as the way things are falling apart around him. And I think this is pretty great because it just sets this set of stakes that are against him. And the stakes don't get any better as we see that Sophia goes to visit Salvatore Maroni at his house. He has found out that his family has died. We hear all his people dying outside, and Sophia puts him at gunpoint. However, she is not there to kill him, but she's also there to offer him the opportunity to align their families together because Oz has betrayed both of them. And the thing that I really did like about Sal is that she does mention that he's more family oriented and that he would never have done the things that Carmine did to her. And you hear that from Sal. He says that he would have ripped his tongue out right then and there for speaking things like that. And this is the thing that even though they consider Salvatore, or even though Carmine considered Salvatore to be weak, he has a code, he has things he stands on. However, without his wife and son there, I wonder how much that's going to change for this character going forward in these last couple episodes. And they decide to make an alliance, and I'm excited to see exactly where this family goes from here on out, because they are only aligning right now because they're going after Oz. Where does that leave Salvatore Maroni once that happens? So Oz does go to lay down with his mother. He does arrive at Crown Point, and he lays down with his mom, and he's trying to hold her and make her feel better about everything that's going on. But Frances kind of looks at Oz as a failure, and she's kind of pushing him away, saying that you brought her back here to feel that pain, and you feel that Oz lost his brothers too. And the conversation does carry on with Vic as he's talking about Jack and Benny, which were his brothers, and how they both died and the city took them just like it took Vic's family. He also talks about how they used to run around the city and it was their playground, and just how much things changed after his brothers died. And we do see that Oz does find a small trolley coin, and him and Vic end up going underground to where Gotham City used to have trolleys way beneath the city. And I was starting to get this idea that this is exactly where the Penguin would work at. If we don't see him in the Iceberg Lounge, he does usually tend to work underground, especially if you play games like Batman Arkham Asylum or Batman Arkham Origins. You'll see that Oz usually tries to pick areas that are very closed off and separated from the city, and a place underground which is humid where the mushrooms could thrive at as well. And it seems like they get power on, and they're willing to make this place their new base and to set up shop there, as well as being a safe place where nobody knows about. It seems like it's closed off from the city, and it will be a perfect place for them to operate without being affected, as well as the fact that the tunnels that are underground lead everywhere in the city, which would give them the opportunity to go anywhere at any point in time. And that closes off the episode. But guys, this was a really good episode. I really liked everything that happened. I like that we still had a lot of highs in this episode. Some death counts that I did not see coming, some death counts that were inevitable. It was pretty good TV show. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a great episode. I am excited to see exactly how Oz is going to deal with the things stacked against him. We do know the episode closes out on a real positive note, and I like that it kind of creates this small essence of hope a little bit for Oz and Victor. However, you do realize that with Sophia and Maroni working together, them not having as much mushrooms, them being at Crown Point, possibly surrounded by Squid and anyone else who may be dangerous around them, you get the idea that it won't be long before all these things start falling down around the two of them. And I'm excited to see how Oz gets through it. All right, guys, that was my review for the episode, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.